Hey, guys, welcome to Career Junky TV, where we are your hub for honest conversations for the beauty industry professional. And our mission is to motivate, elevate, and inspire you to your dream levels. And that's via our expertise, our wisdom, our access, our knowledge, and much, much more. And we can't forget our stories. So, guys, sit back, be sure to invite a friend, share this with another beauty industry professional, get a pad and pen just in case you might need to take notes, and let's get the show started. So, guys, before I introduce our guests, I'm super excited. We have Leah Watson, the cut junkie, and she is a 30-plus year veteran in the game. I'm super excited to talk to her today. I know that she has so much to share with us and impart with us, which I know we all can benefit from. So, guys, once you're coming on, be sure to share the broadcast. Be sure that you're liking, you're commenting. You can ask questions down below. We will answer them at the end or as we see fit. So, guys, we have Leah Watson. Again, she is the cut junkie. She is out of Maryland, and she has been a cutter, professional for 30 plus years. So I'm not going to tell you about her. I want her to jump in and just tell us briefly a little bit about who she is, and then we're going to dive into this interview that I know you guys have been waiting on. So, Leah, can you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Okay, so as you said, my name is Leah Watson. I've been doing hair for, this year make about 33 years. Oh my goodness.
Wow. Yeah.
A little bit about myself. Well, my brand is called Cut Junky. A lot of people don't really know the backstory about the name of the brand, but both my parents were drug addicts, and they suffered from addiction. So I lost my father due to addiction at the age of 16. And my mother died of AIDS when I was 23. Actually, when you asked me to do this interview, I picked today because today is her birthday. So I just thought, she would have been 70 today. And I just thought today would be a good day to do this interview because had it not been for her addiction and my father's addiction, this brand never would have gotten started. So I decided to do something positive with my addiction to hair cutting.
Okay.
Not just the hair cutting, but also to scissors because that's really my first love. So I started Cut Junky because I was mentoring a group of young girls at a cosmetology school. They didn't have shears, and I hooked up with a scissor company. At the time, I was just getting out of the freelance industry. I was in the union, so I was doing video, film, TV, print work, ad work, billboards, you name it. I was doing it at that point. And my son was stationed in Iraq, and he had a situation where everyone was killed in the Humvee but him. And I remember sitting on set saying to myself, they were talking about hair and shoes and makeup, and I was worried about my son. So at that moment, I decided that I wanted to do something to help people. So I got out of doing film, and I started mentoring and teaching and working for a scissor company. So what I do with the brand is through my travels, I've gotten to travel all around the world teaching hair cutting and learning hair cutting. I decided to pass that on. So that's really what I do through the brand, not just teach people about their shears, but also how to use them. Because a lot of people say that they're cutters, but they really don't know how to cut. First and foremost, they're not using the proper tool to begin with. So that's pretty much what I do with the Cut Junky brand. So that's my story. Sticking with it.
That's an amazing story. I did not know all of that backstory. So just the foundation of how it got started. I know that when I was researching you for the show and I was reading like your verbiage on your website, I was like, she has a lot of verbiage that I too, mine is not as in depth as yours and personal, but was some of the things that I kind of put into why mine is Career Junky TV. So I love that it's a ode basically to your parents to turn a negative into a positive. Because you are the cutting and scissor expert in the game, I want to ask you, like, how did you get into honing that as your niche, what you would be known for? What made you go with the shears? I know you said you were addicted to shears and cutting. How did that come about?
Well, even in cosmetology school back then, Joel's were the popular shears. And so I had Joel in hair school. And I just always liked how shiny they were and just how they felt in my hand. Like right now, I'm holding a pair of shears because it's comfort for me.
Okay.
You know, I had the Joels back in hair school, and I was always taught the more you learn, the more you would earn. And even though I had a love for color, because I've also done a lot of extensive hair color training.
Okay.
Even though I loved color, I just loved what you can do with shape. And at that time, color really wasn't that big for ethnic women because it was causing a lot of damage because of the caustic products back then. They weren't as buffered as they are now. So I realized early on that when I cut someone's hair, I got a high from doing that. But I also saw that they got a rush from how they looked afterwards. So early on, I realized the importance of shape. Now, color is I'm going to say more of the rage, but to me, cutting's never going to go out of style. So it was just something that I always loved to do. And I felt like I got more of a transformation out of my clients through my shears.
Okay, that's awesome. So I noticed you said that shapes, when you're cutting, you enjoy the shapes or the shapes. Could you elaborate for maybe new students or new stylists who may be entering the field and they're looking at cutting? When you say shapes, that's not kind of something we hear in hair school. We're mostly hear about angles. So when you say shapes, can you elaborate a little more?
Sure. Okay. So I use the verbiage of shapes because one, I have ADD and I'm dyslexic. So for
Okay.
me, it was too much thinking involved in trying to figure out if I was on a 45 or, I tell people all the time when I'm teaching, the back of my head is flat. So you're not going to be on a 45. You may be on a 37, who knows? But for me, using shape helped me be able to create a better silhouette for my clients, because a haircut, it can be like a facelift. If you give a person the right shape, it can slim their face. It can give them a better silhouette. It can lessen the weight around the jaw. It's a lot of things the correct haircut can do for people. But in school, we're taught 0, 45, 90. And to me, that
Right.
involves too much thinking. I think a lot of us get into this industry because we think of ourselves as artists. But what is an artist? An artist is someone who creates. So if I say to you, cut this way, hold this that way, you know, you're mimicking what I tell you to do. I
Right.
wanted to be able to create what I saw in my head. And in order for me to do that, I couldn't focus on projections. When I say projections, 0, 45, 90, I had to, I took a trip to Paris for a birthday several years ago, and I took a portrait sculpting class, and that helped me understand the shape of the head better, the rounds, the flats, and understanding the shape of the head. I knew if the head was flat, then to add more weight. If it was too round, then I needed to collapse it a little
Mhm.
bit. So I think we get too caught up in what we're taught in school, and we don't expand past that. So for me, I learned different forms of cutting. I don't think a lot of people understand that while you have 0, 45, 90, that's more of a European traditional system. You have
Okay.
Japanese, you have Australian, you have
Mhm.
Italian. Italian
Okay.
cutting mimics the shears mimic the body, and they create a
Okay.
flow with the hair. I just got bored with what I was taught and wanted to learn more. I had 3 kids that I had to feed, and
Mhm.
I knew from what I was taught, the more I learned, the more I could earn. I was a teenage mom, and I had my son 3 days after I turned 15, so I wasn't allowed to go get social service. I wasn't old enough to do that for myself. So
Right.
I had to utilize, my ability to do hair to
Mhm.
feed myself and my kids. So in order for that to happen, I had to go past what I learned in school. So
Okay.
I would say to anyone, if you want to expand your cutting, you have to go past, 0, 45, 90. And so we teach that a lot in the class that I teach. So
And I'm glad you said that, because that was kind of shifting into my next question, which I do want to jump back and say that I love that you say that we're artists, and because we're in the beauty industry, we're very creative, and oftentimes it doesn't. Some things are a little too structured for what our mental can see. So I do love
yeah,
that you said the shapes help with your creativity and to get out exactly what you see in your head. So my next question
yeah,
was to ask if someone was looking to hone their cutting skills, as you already stated, they would need to go further than where they are in hair school and get further education, or maybe go to another school. I know you are you went to Vidal Sassoon, Bumble and Bumble, and Tony and Guy, and I know that's probably more in there now, but those are some of the ones that I figured. So what would you recommend if, say, a stylist is in the game, they say they, now I want to shift, I want to be known for cutting, I want to, or maybe not known, but I just want to get better at cutting, what would be the next steps, or what would you suggest they do next?
well, this is a thing. So I do a lot of mentoring at the cosmetology schools.
Okay.
And uh, it's one particular school. I'm not going to name the school, but it's one particular school that I go to all the time. Um, it's in the city, and
Mhm.
I explain to them all the time, you're not getting the same education as a student who would go to Vidal Sassoon or
Mhm.
Paul Mitchell or even Aveda. So you
Okay.
have to want to learn more. You have to want to see what else is out there. You can't just look at what's hot um, in just hair magazines, because
Right.
you know, those magazines are either black or white. If it's a white
Mhm.
magazine, they may have a few pictures of us sprinkled in there. If it's a black magazine, you may not see any other texture in the magazine. So you have to want to expand past where you're at, just for yourself. Even if no one said to me, you can go to Bumble and Bumble, because this has been a thorn in my spine for years, because I've always been the only brown face. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And the reason I started teaching was because being the only brown face in a lot of those classes, it was a lot of information that I saw was not being given to us. So
Right.
while the beauty industry makes billions of dollars off of us, they don't feed back into us. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
for me, I always try to encourage people, see what else is out there. It may not be a ethnic educator. It may be a Caucasian educator. I've trained my mentor. He's Japanese. So you have to go wherever you have to go. The thing about it was I've experienced other Caucasian stylists asking me why you here, and my answer is hair is hair. Why shouldn't I be here?
Right. Agreed.
So you have to want to go past where you are. If it's not being exposed to you, then create it.
Right.
I knew it was more going on than what I was seeing in the salons that I worked in, because I followed a lot of the European cutters back then. You had Shan Riz, excuse me, you had Cabela, you had oh my God, it was so many Zotos back in the day. I followed Tony and Guy, Vidal Sassoon. They were all coming from across the pond, as they used to say when they spoke about European styles, and they were considered the best. So I knew that if I wanted to be the best, I had to figure out where they were getting their education from and do the same.
Right. And I love that. One of the things I want to highlight, because you keep referencing it and I love it, I'm a big advocate of it, is mentorship. Mm-hmm. You've mentioned that you mentor people and you have a mentor. How important is that for stylists? Because I know in the beauty industry, we're kind of competitive. We think that it's not enough for all of us to eat, which it is. So how important is having a mentor and being a mentor to you?
It was actually everything to me. I knew that through those mentors, they would open doors for me that probably would have never been opened. The thing is, let me say this though. I never, like if I saw someone whose work that I liked, I would research them and find out how to contact them. I never ever called anybody and just asked them to help me. I always offered to pay them because I wanted them to know that I valued them. I didn't want to just take from them. I wanted them to understand that I valued them. And I think the problem is we get so caught up in what everybody else is doing that we don't value the people that are put in our path that can help us. So I do mentor. I usually pick one person per year to mentor. And the funny thing about that is I've offered several occasions to mentor people. They don't call back. They don't show up. They don't take it serious. So you have to want more. I can be available all I want to be available, but if you're not gonna make an effort, then I can't put forth effort. So a mentor is extremely important. My Japanese mentor, I had to, for 7 years, the first Monday of every month, go to New York. You know what I mean? I had to ride the bus for 3 hours up, ride the bus for 3 hours back. A lot of times I didn't have lunch money, I had to sacrifice, but I wanted to be good. I didn't just want to be good. I wanted to be great. And I wanted, if I was going to say that I was a cut junkie, I couldn't just be average. You know what I mean? Like everything about what I do, like I write all my own stuff. I shoot all my own images. I didn't have anyone to tell me how to do that. I just had to figure it out. So you can't just rely on having a mentor and think the mentor is supposed to do the work for you. That's not the purpose of a mentor.
Right. So I agree with that. I think that it's very important. Actually, helped my career tremendously.
Yes.
So you have a mentor. You've gotten trained, educated, and sought after what you needed to take your career to the next level. But you're in the game, you said 33 years, going on 34 or 32, 33. How did you
Yeah.
sustain a career that long?
Well, when I was freelancing, what I would do is I would freelance or in film and production is called day play. I would do that during the
Mhm.
beginning of the week. And
Okay.
then I would do the salon towards the end of the week, usually Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So they never really interfered with each other. By me living in Maryland, I knew I wasn't in New York or LA where production was, readily available. So I wasn't gonna give up my book um, for
Right.
a run on a movie. You know what I mean? Because once that movie wrapped, then what? I still had to eat. So I just always would tell people when they would ask me about freelancing, um, make sure you don't cut off your nose to spite your face. You know what I mean? If you're not in a major city, um, don't just walk away from one for the other. I know everybody gets caught up in the whole celebrity thing, but for me, my grandmother used to dance. So she used to
Okay.
take me to Broadway shows when I was younger. I would watch her get dressed. She put on a big wig, her furs, her jewelry, her makeup. And that was really how I got into hair. So because I was always around her friends that were in the industry,
Mhm.
I was never starstruck. So for me, the work was just that work. It wasn't, oh, I'm a celebrity stylist. And it actually, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, I just started using the term as far as even promoting myself because I
Okay.
didn't want that to be all that people saw about me. You know what I mean? I wanted to be known as a good stylist because that was what I love to do. And sustaining it for 30 years, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. There's been ups and downs, and you know, um, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. It's okay.
Like the past 3 years for me have been really rough. I had to learn how to walk again. I almost had my foot amputated. I've had 16 eye surgeries. I've lost my vision 3 times. I've had my driver's license taken away from me. Um, ugh, I didn't want to talk about all of it.
You don't have to talk about it. If it's something you don't
I
want to talk
know,
about,
but
we
if it can help somebody, then I need to. You know what I'm saying? I'm not on here to be fake. I'm not on here to um, sell any promises to anybody. I'm on here to help people. If I can't help somebody, then I don't need to be on here. So
right.
it's been a lot of ups and downs, and not just for me, but it's life. It's life.
Yeah.
And I could be bitter because of the circumstances that I was born into or because of the struggles that I've had. But I'm so grateful to even be able to see you on this damn phone. So, I'm just, I got a business that I run. I
Mhm.
got friends that love me. I got people in this industry that respect me. I don't have nothing to feel bad about. But
Right.
it's going to be rough times. You know what I mean? It's going to be ups and downs. You're going to lose clients. The industry's going to change. People, nowadays, they're not getting relaxers like they used to back then. The
Right.
industry changes all the time. You got to be able to change with it. And the only reason why I was able to change with it is because I constantly educated myself. Every
Okay.
time it was a shift, I was ahead of the shift because I was educating myself. I have never not taken classes Even when I couldn't see, I was sitting in somebody's classroom because I could hear.
Right.
What I'm saying. So it's gonna always be, changes. You just have to. Hey, Destiny. You just have to roll with the punches. Everybody's not gonna like you. So what? So
Right.
what? I'm quite sure there's some people along the way that didn't like me. I dumbed myself down to make a lot of people comfortable because I wanted friends. I didn't really grow up with any family. So my friends became my family. And a lot of my friends that did hair, it was a lot of shade. A lot of shade.
Yeah.
I'm still getting shade, but I'm here for a reason and I'm not going
Right.
anywhere. And so, you know, my scissors are important to me. Teaching people how to cut is important to me. Um, Making sure that people like me is not so important, because
Agree.
they'll find any little thing,
Right.
your hair could be longer than theirs and they won't like you. You know what I mean? So those are not really concerns of mine. Like I said, I'm so grateful
Mhm.
to to still. Let me tell you something. When I was going through my eye surgeries, I couldn't see past my nose. I had to get people to drive me to work. If it wasn't in front of me, I couldn't
Uh-huh.
see it. I
Oh,
I
wow.
had to. I sat in the dark a lot of days, but I said, hell, if I'm gonna go blind, I'ma still know how to cut. So I would practice cutting
Right.
in the you know, it's called life. What are you gonna do about it? I'm not ready to check out, so I got to keep living it, and
Right.
I got to live it how it comes at me. Like even doing this interview, everything that could have went wrong. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I had my daughter and my granddaughter and one of my friends here trying to help me, set up the camera. And, I got OCD so bad that them moving stuff around, I
Yeah.
was out, and then as soon as we got everything positioned, the stand for the camera shut down on me. So life is going to happen anyways, and I'm just glad that I'm still living it, So no, you do what you got to do.
And I
I'm
love
sorry
that
if I just get
the
it
premise of it is the premise of that is perseverance. And I love that because, as you stated, is life. So nothing's ever guaranteed to be the same the next day. And you have to be willing to take what's thrown at you and fight. Are you going to take it lying down, or are you going to
or
you're
you
going to
just
sit up and do something about that?
yeah. So I mean, look, if somebody tells you, okay, prime example, I was supposed to go to Italy to take a haircutting class. Um,
Okay.
Everything was paid for. I had bought my ticket for the airplane. Hotel, everything was taken care of. The guy who runs the program sent me an email to try to find out what kind of model I wanted because he was the
Okay.
interpreter. And I said, I want someone with ethnic hair. He was like, well, our cutting technique is not for ethnic hair. And I said, well, hair is hair. He was like, we don't teach this technique to ethnic stylists. And so I got my money back. And that's how I ended up going to Paris because I took the money
Okay.
from that and went to Paris. So, you know, you can't let someone telling you can't do something stop you. If I
Right.
can stand in here every day and cut hair and my clients are paying me $150 for a haircut and I'm able to cut their hair, who can tell you that you can't do something? My
Right.
biggest fear for the past 3 years is what am I going to do if I can't cut? So
So, right. So from your experience and based off what you said just then, like that was basically racism saying that our techniques are for
exactly.
ethnic hair. So when you're looking to elevate in your career, of course, especially when you want to hone in on a specific thing like cutting, color, which are two of the top services in the beauty industry. When you're looking to hone in on that, that means you now got to go outside of your race
Outside.
to figure out how it's done in other places. So is it common in your experience to experience people saying, no, this is not for you? Or do you think it's more of an embrace or a 50-50 thing?
Well,
Because
you
I
have
don't
to
think that's
remember,
something to think
well,
about.
this thing. So you have to remember, I'm 30 plus years in. So now it's a little
Right.
easier. It's a little
Okay.
easier now. So, but back then, um, I was catching shade every class I took. But look, I was going to take my classes. So, even now with the scissors, I've gotten a lot of flack from a lot of other sister companies. But this is the thing. So my goal was to be an art director. It wasn't, by the time I got to 40, I wanted to be an art director. But I'm getting ready to turn 50 and I'm still doing hair. But, when it's in us, we can't get rid of it, right? But
Right, right.
so I wanted to be an art director. So I was taking a whole bunch of photography classes and all that
Mhm.
type of stuff. And I made a decision that cutting was going to be my thing. And once I made that decision, I couldn't go back from it. So I decided to become an educator for a scissor company. That
Okay.
didn't go too well because she had the product. I just had the information. So all the money was going to her. And
Okay.
so while I learned a lot about shears, I learned a lot about shears that I did not like. And that kind of fueled me wanting my own line of shears because my shears all have names. They
Okay.
all fit my hand perfectly. I understand the craftsmanship behind them. I understand
Mhm.
the metals. So they became an extension of my hand. But what I noticed when I would teach a class is that a lot of people were using the wrong tool. So
Okay.
for me, the best way to combat that was to add the shears to my classes. So in
Right.
doing that, I ran into a lot of hate, a lot of hate. Didn't think I would because, I'm like, okay, I'm doing me. But,
Right.
it is what it is, but
Yeah.
we have to get past what this one's doing and that one's doing, and we got to learn how to work together because at the end of the day, it's enough money to go around for all of us. If
Agree.
you're at a point where you feel like it's not enough money, then you really need to get out of it because I'm not going to let someone tell me because the girl across the hall is getting paid that I can't get paid. I got to figure out what
Right.
she's doing and do my thing how I got to do it. So I just think we pay too much attention to what people say and do. And I think as
Mhm.
artists, we have to get back to the art of why we got into this in the first place.
Right. Because we all have individual motivations that fuel us. So we can
Yeah.
often get sidetracked by watching somebody else's
Mhm.
mission and journey and what they're doing and forget what our focus is. I love that. So I know that you touched briefly on your shears,
Mhm.
but I want you to go in detail because you have this new business, which is your shears, and tell us all about it, what they are, and actually where you can purchase them. What makes yours unique? Because I know you said you worked for a shear company, but you found out some things you didn't like. So now you have yours. Of course, you have the things you do like. So tell us about your shears.
I love my shears. Okay, so I'm a true blue cutter. When
Okay.
people would come through, you know how they come through the salon, they slide through, they want you to look at their shears. The first thing I'd ask,
Right.
what metal is this? You know what I mean?
Okay.
when they couldn't tell me what metal it was, I knew that I wasn't going to buy from them because I don't I don't want to buy anything from someone who's just trying to sell me something and they don't really have a vested interest as to whether or not it's going to be useful to me. So
Gotcha.
with my shears, I made a connect in Japan. My shears are authentic Japanese shears. They're handpicked by me. They
Okay.
can be custom fit. So I learned how to fit shears. An older Japanese guy taught me how to fit
Hmm.
shears. So I hand fit them myself. I go through a lot of questions before I sell someone a pair of shoes. Do you cut
Okay.
wet or dry? Do you cut from right to left? What form of cutting do you use? Do you do a lot of blunt cutting? Do you do a lot of texturizing? All of that is important because it's important as to how your blade is going to wear. So I
Right.
ask a lot of questions. Um, I try to make sure that the metal that they pick is conducive for how they cut, because if you cut wet, you don't want a metal that's going to corrode. You need something that
Right.
can hold, you cutting hair wet. So um, my shears are authentic Japanese shears. You have a lot of companies that say they're Japanese shears, but if you're buying a shear and it does not have the country of origin stamped on it,
Uh-huh.
if it doesn't say made in Japan or wherever, even if it's
Uh-huh.
not a Japanese shear, then it's not authentic Japanese. So
Okay.
I don't think a lot of people know that, but that's a little uh, hint from the cut junk. Make
Right.
sure. But they can purchase anything that they need from me. The website is almost done, which I'm excited about the
Okay.
website because I shot all the images myself. Um,
Great.
and they can hit me up on social media at the Cut Junkie. If they need anything,
Okay.
they can inbox me. And like I said, I'll fit their hand for what's perfect for them. But the shares, I love them because they're not expensive, but they're good. And I would
Okay.
not use them or put my name on them if they weren't. I think people have been taught that in order for the share to be good, you got to pay hundreds of dollars for them. I've done that. I got a pair of $1,400 shares that I don't really even use because they're heavy. I like a lighter share.
Okay.
So I was mindful of the weight. I was mindful of the ring sizes. I was mindful of the finger rest. I was mindful of the screws. Everything was handpicked by me. So it was a labor of love. It was something that, when I went to Japan, I got to visit a scissor store, and
Okay.
I remember walking in there crying because I was just so happy. It was just
Oh,
shears everywhere, and it was, I was in Japan, and it
right.
was the best thing ever. And I left there 2 hours later. I left there, and I said, when I get home, that's what I want. And that's what
Okay.
I've been working towards since then. So it's been 10 years, and I'm just really excited to be able to have my own brand and to be able to have a brand that I know will help people cut better.
Right. So when a stylist or a barber or a loctician, whoever's cutting hair, is looking to purchase a shear, what is some things that they should take notice of to make sure that they're getting a pair that's perfect for them or just a good pair in general?
Well, again, having your hand fit would
Okay.
be my first suggestion, because when I fit a hand, I'm looking for the size of your hand to determine the length of the blade. And
Okay.
a lot of us are just taught don't cut past the knuckle. You know what I mean? But a lot of that has to do with the length of the blade. I'm
Okay.
looking for what I would tell them to look for, rather. The weight. How does it feel in your hand? Does it feel heavy? Are you able to make transitions as far as how you palm the shear, as far as holding it? Just Oh, that's a good question. It's so many things that they should look for, but they're not taught to ask. And so that's why I have a class that I teach called Sheer Addiction. And
Okay.
we cover all of those questions that they should ask pertaining to the purchase. Because it really should be
Gotcha.
an extension of your hand.
Okay, great. I love that. So, before we go, because we're going to wrap up here, I have when I saw that you were interested in the show, I was like stunned. I was like, wait a minute, how did this happen? And the reason about it, and I kind of alluded in the email, I was like, I have to tell you about, or in the discussion part, I was like, we'll talk about how your obedience saved a career. I don't know if you read it or not, but it was in our email.
And I was like, oh my goodness, what does that mean? Because I got ADD. I'm always all over the place. So I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, so, okay. In 2013, we're in Jackson, Mississippi for a hair show. I was at that hair show. At that particular time, I was working a side job and I was still in the salon, but the side job kind of morphed into full time, and I was just burned out in both places. Didn't want to be at the secondary job, and didn't really know where my hair career was going. So I was burned out. I initially had no plans to come to the show, although I kept saying I was going. And a friend of mine came to me and she was like, I don't know why this on my heart. Like, I'm not a prophet or nothing, but the Lord told me you have to go to the show. And so I'm like, okay. And when you're praying about stuff, like the Lord answers, and he don't always answer the way or how you think
I was there.
You were there. So I said,
oh my God.
I didn't really have the money to go to the show. So I said, I'm going to go and only take classes. Mm-hmm. And I came, and every class I went to said something about God. It confirmed what I had been praying. And you were one of the last classes I went to. I was by your booth, and I was like, has our class started? And Corey was like, yeah, I'm headed there. Just come on with me. And so I get in your class, and you were starting your introduction, and you were saying, I wasn't planning on coming. I was actually going to cancel. You said, but the Lord told me that I had to come because somebody is waiting to hear this.
Oh my
and
God.
I almost ran out the class. I almost ran out the class, and I was fighting tears because I'm like, oh my God, she is probably thinking it's what she's about to teach. But it was literally that sentence, because I was like, I'm done. I don't really know where I'm gonna go. I also met the awesome Destiny there. So it was like you confirmed.
Yeah, Destiny was right across
the industry.
Yeah, her booth was right across from mine.
Yes. So I told Destiny that story a long time ago. So when I saw it come through, I was like, she doesn't even know she's a part of my story. Like, you confirmed that I was in the right place at the right time. Awesome. Yes. So I wanted to tell you about that. I said, because I know she does not know that. There's no way she can know that.
So let me tell you, that show, my one of my close friends, Corey, does makeup.
Right.
And girl, let me tell you, that was like a 2-day drive for us. We left all the way down there. It took us like 10 hours just to get out of Virginia. And so we drove all night long. We finally got a hotel room. It's Jerry's show. And
yes.
Jerry asked me to come down, and he's like, cut, Junky, you got to come. And I wasn't going to, just because, I was going through a lot at the time.
Okay.
I'm not going to go into whatever, but I was just going through a lot. And so Corey was like, no, come on, let's go. And I kept telling Corey, I said, Corey, I don't have anything to sell. I said, every time I've always taught for someone and they had the product. So he said, no, you got these DVDs. I said, Corey, they're old. I don't want to do it. So he convinced me to go ahead and go. And I was praying the whole time. I was like, God, I don't have anything to sell. Let me be a blessing to somebody, some kind of way, because we were really just launching back then. And so, at the booth, we had to paint cans because I was teaching painting with scissors. And so, it ended up being an awesome show. And I'm so glad that you chose to come into my classroom. I'm so glad that our paths have crossed again. When I saw Mississippi, I was like, oh, I taught there. What I didn't know at the time was that my grandmother's family is from Jackson. And I didn't find that out until we got there. Yeah, so I never knew. Well, they're originally from Phoenix, Arizona, and then they moved to Jackson, Mississippi, and then my grandmother ended up going up to Boston, where I'm originally from. So, I was just excited to be there. We ate at Bully's and had the best seafood ever. So, we had the soul food. Corey and I ate everything while we were down there. So it was just an awesome trip. I'm so glad that you chose to come into my classroom. I'm so glad that I was able to say something, that helped you, because I've been there. I've taken. Let me tell you something. When I went to Japan, no one believes me, but this is honest God's truth. I had $500 in my pocket. I didn't have any extra money. I ate at McDonald's every time, I ate, because I didn't have any money, but I knew that was where I was supposed to be at that time. So, it's happened to all of us. Every time I do a class, there's always somebody that's sitting in there that's had to decide between paying a bill and learning something. You know what I mean?
Right.
We all go through that. The problem is not enough of us are honest about it.
Right.
So, I don't have any regrets about anything that I've done in this industry, because I've gotten to do more than most. And coming from two parents who suffered from drug addiction, they didn't teach me anything. They weren't really in my life. My grandmother raised me. So to be able to have those experiences and, come from what I've come from, I'm grateful for everyone who is taking a chance on me. They didn't have to. Glenn Bordenstein, he's like my favorite uncle. Every time I talk to him, I just want to hug him. Loretta McCoy, I learned to understand and concepting from her. Aji, he's a great mentor. Daryl Queen, he was my cosmetology instructor when I first started out. He's the one that forced me to love cutting. So we all have those people in our lives that have sown seed and may not have even known that that's what they were doing. So, I'm glad that I was able to do that for you. When you said Mississippi, I was like, she better not tell me she was at that show.
I was ironically at that show, and I had never been because he had a show prior. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you were there, but I'd never been. I had just heard of it.
My first time ever teaching there, and I always tell Jerry, anytime he wants me to come back, just let me know. But I'm not sure if he's still having that show.
He hasn't in the past few years, but he may be working on something. Who knows?
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it was an awesome show, and it was truly a God moment for me, because I was not here for it, really. Yeah. So I took those classes, and everybody was saying something confirming what I was going through. So it was so awesome.
Okay, good. Well, I'm like, did you enjoy the class at least?
I did, but I had to leave out early because I was so overwhelmed.
Well, look, now we're sisters, so you can call me anytime you want to.
Right. So we're going to wrap up, and I want you to tell everyone where they can find you so that they can just connect with you further if they want to follow you on social media, or if they may want to book you for classes. If you're traveling now, I don't know how your schedule is, but if they want to book you for trainings or something.
Sure. So on social media, on all the social media, it's at the Cut Junky, THECUTJUNKIE. We are putting up the schedule now. We'll be doing more traveling towards the end of the year. Right now, we're doing what these classes that I call the method labs. We're doing those.
Okay.
So if they want any training or any shares, they can just hit me up, inbox me at the Cut Junky. So that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And then the website will be up in a few weeks, and that will just be cutjunky.com.
Okay. So we will have it, and I'm going to put it in here once we get off so they can go right to it. Okay. So I just want to thank you so much for coming.
I'm sorry for crying. I'm a big baby.
It's okay. I'm sure someone I did can connect with that. We want to see people, because so many other people have our stories are so much similar to our stories that we think no one else can understand, but we do. So I know it helps someone. So thank you so much, Leah, for coming on.
I look forward to
talking to you in the future really, really soon. And I had an amazing time. So thank you again. And guys, you are tuned into Career Junky TV, where we are honest conversation for the beauty industry professional. Be sure to tune in next Monday. We have a fashion designer, Junky, who's going to be on, well, not next Tuesday after next. We're going to be broadcasting Bronner next Monday. So we're going to say in 2 weeks, we'll see you guys live, but be sure to tune in for Bronner for this next week. So bye-bye, guys. And again, thank you, Leah.
See you later. Bye.